tere tulemast vaatama PÖFF TV-d. Mina olen Hanna Aunin ja me oleme siin Nordic Hotel Foorumi PÖFF TV pop-up stuudios. Tänavu linastub PÖFFil USA-Hiina koostöös valminud film Looritatud, mis räägib vennast ja õest, kes elavad farmis koos oma isaga ja nende kõigi vahelisest suhtest. Vaatame selle filmi treilerit. Ja meie oleme siin Looritatud režissööri Kunlin Wangiga. Hello Kunlin.
Hi.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
The international premiere of your debut film is going to be here in Tallinn on the 29th of November. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling really excited because I went to the cinema the other day to watch another film and it's a beautiful theater.
Are you also a bit nervous or haven't the nerves kicked in yet?
Yeah, I wondered how audience here will react, so I'm really excited and nervous.
Okay. First of all, what got you into filmmaking?
What got me into filmmaking? I actually started, I think that's 8 years ago. Actually, yeah. 8 years ago. So when I went to university, I joined the television club, and then we made some short films and videos for the promotional purposes of the student activities. And I feel like it's so great to express yourself, expressing your opinions and telling stories. So that's how I started.
Okay. As you said before, Obscure, you have made also several short films, and obviously the process of directing a short film is very different from directing a feature-length film. So what have you learned from this experience of making your first debut film?
I think the whole process is kind of experimental for us because this isn't traditional feature film making, because we had the script only 23 pages long. That's usually because we did this in America, and traditionally you have 1 page script equals to 1 minute in the feature film. So with 23 pages of script and no dialogue and only descriptions for actions was really hard for people to see it as a feature film. So before we actually shoot the film, we shot on our DSLR with our own friends and crew members to do like an experimental video of how this film will look like in the future. So we shot that, and that was like 18 minutes, I think, because we did everything kind of a little bit faster than in the film. So then it turned out to be that length, and we feel like that's okay for us to move on. So we move on to shoot the film. Yeah.
Before I'm going to ask more questions about the film, You also mentioned that you studied at the film school, so you studied at the
Chapman University.
Chapman University, right, which is considered to be one of the best in the States, I believe.
Yeah.
So what were some of the most important things you learned in school?
I think that when we were in the school for the first week, our dean kept mentioning story, and story. So I think that was planted in the beginning of my film school experience. And then we kept developing this story with all the departments of the work. And so, for example, when I learned to use visual language and oral language and music, everything, and as well as a performance, of course, and to enhance the story. So I feel like that's the most important theory I got from the film school. And also this film, Obscure, is we did it for our thesis film. So that's my graduation film. So I was so lucky to work with all the fellow students in the film school, because we have this specific emphasis on the major. I studied directing, and my DP studied cinematography. My editor studied editing, and so on. So everybody was so good at their job. So I just feel like it's so great to have a team that on the same page, and also we are kind of the same level. So nobody wants to step higher than anybody. It's just a great collaboration.
You also were a student of Bela Tar, I believe,
Yeah.
at the International Filmmaking Academy, and you also later worked for him.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you learned from him, has he influenced your work in any way?
Yeah, I think he influenced me a lot, because when I went there, he told everybody character. That's a little bit different from what I learned at school, which story goes first. So he told us character is the main thing that you should follow. He even suggested me not writing the script and just shooting real people doing real things. And that is really hard for a student filmmaking in the States, or professional filmmaking in the States, because actors and all the department they need to read the script. So I actually brought my the same story, but a short film script to Bela Tar when I studied after him. And I told him the story, and then he suggested me to forget about the story and just follow the character, follow their daily routines, and let the audience know which kind of world they are living in. So I think that's the most important influence he gave on me. And after that, I rewrite the script with more tensions on the character, on his emotion, on his daily routines, and that makes it into a feature script somehow. So yeah, without him, I think this is still a short film.
Okay. Well, Obscure deals with quite complicated topics like sexuality and gender and familial relationships. So why did you decide to make your first film about these topics? Yeah.
I studied communication studies when I was in the undergrad study, and my focus was on gender studies. So I was really interested in different or alternative ways to expressing gender and sexuality. So I brought that background with me to the film school. So every film I made in the film school was kind of related to this topic, because I feel like, especially in China, the diversity of gender and sexuality is not exposed to the audience that much. So that was motivation of me really going into the film school and start consider filmmaking as my profession.
I'm going to ask straight away, do you plan to continue with these topics?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Then, as you also mentioned, that Obscure has no dialogue. So can you explain what was behind that decision? Because not a lot of films these days, it's not very common these days to have no dialogue in a film.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, when I did my first film in the film school, I feel like I used the characters too much to sing their emotions directly, and I feel like films around me, they all tend to have too much dialogue. So I try to conduce dialogue with each of my film. And then when I was writing, actually a short version of the of Obscure, I had really less dialogues. And when I developed into the feature length, I try to pay more attention to the actions, to the unspoken relations and emotions between the characters. So I actually realized there was only one dialogue when I finished the script, and so that was kind of spontaneously. But that wasn't by accident, anyways, because I was trying to do that with each of my film in the from the past. But after I finished the script, people, especially my teammates and my professors, they were asking me why there is no dialogue other than this one line of dialogue. Either you can make it totally silence for the purpose of experimental, or you can just add more because they feel like it's not a traditional way to say it, and they were not sure if it's gonna work. But I just feel like all the emotions and things seen in the film can be tell by the actions and by the different scenes. I just feel like it doesn't need to be said because it's kind of obscure. And with that one line of dialogue, I kept that because I think without that line, the film is kind of with only one layer. It's just about this boy, and people around him doesn't really affect him, and they are kind of like unchanged people. But this one line actually is a change of the father figure, and also change in the relationship between three of them, as well as this is kind of a big moment that he stepped out of his innocence and his tolerance of everything.
What was interesting for me was also that the environment and the characters in the film are in a way undefined or unspecified, in the sense that we do not know at what country the story takes place or what is the nationality of the characters. So was this also a deliberate choice, or was it something that just happened?
Right, yeah. This is what I discussed with Bellatar too. So he was suggesting I should do everything real. I should follow the real people, observe the real people doing the real things. But from my past filmmaking interest, I kind of like to establish this new world the characters live in that is a little bit different from ours. So we don't use our or don't bring our own norms and rules for the society into this world, because in this film there are so much ambiguous representation of gender and sexuality, and also the relationship between or among these three people. I don't want it to be insect for per se, or this doesn't need to be kinship between the three of them. So so the reason why I established this a foreign or self-contained universe is the reason for that is to bring audience into this specific world and use their rules and norms to see how they live and how they interact with each other.
Is this also the reason why the story takes place in a farm? Because the characters, they are tending animals, there's no electricity, and not a lot of people follow this lifestyle anymore. Yeah. So why is the story taking place in a farm, not, for example, in a city?
Yeah, because for the first reason is isolation of the farm, and the other one is nature. Because I want these three people. They are really close to the nature. They were really like so they are dealing with animals, they are dealing with land, and the land grows nothing actually, and so they are away from the civilization, and in the only place where we see lots of people, that's in the bar, and the bar people behave really strange. They are like one copy of each other. So I just want to feel like this world has no what we call human relationship and or human emotions, but we see these three people, they gradually have emotions and towards humanity.
Now, you also work as a production designer.
Yes.
So what are some of the most important aspects for you when you are creating, for example, a film set or a production design?
Yeah, for other people's film, when I do production design, I focus on the story most and also the character as well, because I want everything in this environment fit into the story, help telling the story and help expressing the characteristic of the characters. So I think that is really helped me when I direct, because I understand how to build a world around the characters and for their stories. So actually, I participate a lot in the production design department with my production designer. We are really good friends, and we often help each other. So when we were designing this together, it becomes a really important thing to selling the story as happening in an isolated or a different or foreign world. So we were trying to fit many uncertain elements of the world. For example, as well as the costume. The costume is actually it's a very great idea she proposed. I think it's really great, because she was saying we are trying to reduce characteristics from these people from the beginning. So why not we have the same like uniform or work clothes for all of them? So that at the beginning, I really liked for the first second we see the boy or the teenage boy, we see his strangeness right away with the production design as well as the costume.
So working as a production designer has helped you or has been beneficial for your work as a director also.
Yeah.
Do you know what is your next project going to be about, or your next film going to be about?
Yeah, I've been spending too many years abroad, away from my home. So I just recently moved back to China in the summer. So and I wrote I wrote my actually first story about stories happening in China. So I think that is what I wanted to do for a long time. It's about a boy, a 7 years old boy going through a family crisis and traveling traveling between different cities. Give me one chance. Let me hold back. So this is about a 7-year-old boy experiencing family crisis and traveling from different parts of China through different seasons and then mentally growing up.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to film in China?
Yes, that's my plan, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it has so many elements from my childhood and my hometown, so I think that's a film that I really want to make about myself and for my hometown, yeah.
In what state in your mind is the film industry in China? Do you have anything that you're worried about when now you have the plan to film in China? So is there anything that you are worried about, or anything that you see that is beneficial to you because, I don't know, of the opportunities that are in China, or like
there are
how do you feel about filming in China?
There are two sides of it. So the bright side is there are so many opportunities for young filmmakers in China right now. There are so many financing forums and project markets for young, especially for the young filmmakers with first 2 feature films. So I recently went to one and presented my project there, and so we are still moving forward with that. But the other side is we have quite strict censorship regarding to subject matter, as well as as well as the correct or positive representation of China and also the people living in China. So I was a little worried about the ending of my film because it's not a traditional bright side ending, because the boy going through lots of traumas, even though he was innocent, he was behaving like very childish among the film, but at the very end he lost all the people who loved him, who fighted for him, and he became alone. I'm not sure if this is proper to be screened in China, but we will see how it goes.
I hope everything goes well
Thank
for
you.
you. And thank you very much for this interview, and I hope you have a nice day here in Tallinn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mina olen Hanna Aunin, me vestlesime siin Kunlin Wangiga tema debüütfilmist Looritatud, mille esilinastus toimub 29. novembril kinos Sõprus, nii et ma loodan, et te saate kõik minna seda vaatama ja teil on võimalus veel osta pileteid sinna.